Welcome back to another episode of Car Thoughts, while we discuss the various things I've been thinking about as I travel from here to there. On this episode of Car Thoughts, we are going to be discussing the Ghostbusters. Now, the 80s was a very special time. Big hair, bright colors, radical cartoons, and awesome toys. In 1984, the first Ghostbusters hit the scenes. Now, I was a young kid when that came out. I didn't get to see it when it hit the theaters, but I do remember seeing it on TV when it did. And at first, I was terrified. After all, I was a small kid. But I do remember when the real Ghostbusters came out on TV in 1985. And I thought that was so cool. These four dudes were going out and busting ghosts. And then the first movie wasn't so bad after all. Then in 87, Ghostbusters 2 came out. And I thought it was so cool. Now, if you want more background on all the movies, go watch Minty's channel, 10 Things You Didn't Know About the Ghostbusters. And he goes into a lot more details than I'm going to go on in my channel. And he's on YouTube. You can go ahead and find him, and he'll tell you a lot more. I'm not going to go on a lot of detail. That's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to discuss is about something way different that nobody's talking about. So, the Ghostbusters is something that is really neat. Because there's something that's been going around in the background of the Ghostbusters that media has not been talking about. Because it's been going pretty strong since the 80s. And I'm not talking about the movies that we've been watching pretty regularly since the 80s. Because we've had all the toys, we've had all the video games. Now, the thing was that for a long time, a lot of the fans called Ghostbusters the video game the third movie, because it featured the voice actings of the main cast and most of the cast. You didn't get Sigourney Weaver, and you did not get the return of, and I can't think of his name right now. But it'll come back to me. But, you know, their lawyer / accountant, and Dana from the movie, her next door neighbor, or as it was, as his possessed character name, Vincent. But you did get Vigo to come back in the video game. And a lot of people considered it the third movie until an actual third movie came around. However, it's not really a third Ghostbuster movie because of the 2016 Ghostbuster movie that a lot of the fans reject because it had a female cast. But I want to tell you that third Ghostbuster movie, the 2016 Answer the Call, though a lot of the fans reject it because it had an all-female cast, is actually very important to the series. And I will explain why in just a moment. Now, going back to the video game is going to be very important. Now, if you don't want to play the video game, I can understand. You can pick it up on the PS4 or the Switch, or even the PS5. I believe there's a PS5 edition. And there's some computer ports. In the game, the Ghostbusters travel in and out of dimensional portals. And they go to different realms, spirit realms mostly, as they're traveling around New York. Well, in the comic books, they're doing the same thing, and they've been doing the same thing since the 80s. And in fact, some people don't know this, but the Ninja Turtles actually travel to the world of the Ghostbusters. And there is a crossover with the Ghostbusters and the Transformers. And there was a big crossover event in the comic lines where the Ghostbusters had to cross over with themselves on multiple Ghostbuster teams in multiple dimensions to help fight some sort of big evil that was threatening to destroy the multiverse. Now, they even mentioned this in the very first movie. Vince was talking about how, in the first movie, how one of the forms that the Destroyer took destroyed an entire realm. Now, I'm not going to quote him because I can't recall what he said because it was so complicated. But he does mention that this Destroyer comes and destroys it. And then when Ray comes along and Gozer says, choose your form, he chooses Stay Puft Marshmallow Man as the Destroyer. Meaning that Gozer goes from realm to realm. And in the one movie, Gozer shows back up again to do it again. So it's not that uncommon that Gozer is going to go from realm to realm to realm. Now, in the 2016 movie, they were suggesting that Gozer was going to show up in the 2016 movie towards the end of the movie, just as it showed up in the very first Ghostbuster movie. So there's a connection right there. And if you watch this 2016 movie, the Ghostbuster men were present, but they weren't present as the Ghostbusters. It's a dimension where they were there, but they never teamed up, suggesting it's just like their dimension where they were present but weren't the team. Yes, the 2016 movie wasn't very funny or very scary, but the rules were similar. Now, what a lot of people don't know is, had that movie been successful, it would have launched the Ghost Corps, which would have launched a all-male movie with a new team. And it would have launched an anime series as well on top of it. And there would have been a crossover event, which could have led to this very event that I'm talking about. And possibly a reunion with the original team, led by Dan Aykroyd himself. But because of the fan backlash, we never got to see this happen. The fans shot this down before they even realized that this was even gonna happen. And it's such a shame. I would have loved to have seen this. Shoot, I would love to still see these Lady Ghostbusters making an appearance once again from an alternate dimension. Because, shoot, we even have the Extreme Ghostbusters that were a mixed team that Egon was leading after his original team fell apart. Now, did this Extreme Ghostbuster team form after Egon left his original team in between Ghostbusters, say Ghostbusters 2, and him moving out to the countryside? It's possible. Is that when that event happened? In the movies world? Maybe. You can call that. And that would kind of make sense if you were looking in the world of the movies. But, or is this just another pocket dimension that maybe the Ghostbusters resided? You know, you never know in the Ghostbusters world because there's so many different dimensions that the Ghostbusters reside in. That, you know, they could potentially be just, this was a dimension that, you know, each team exists. And when you look at the video game, when you beat the video game, it talks about you owning your own franchise. Maybe the team broke up to start their own little unique, you know, business. Maybe the ghosts got too numerous. Unfortunately, I never got to finish the Extreme Ghostbusters. A failing on my part. So I don't know how things end up. Whether the team gets back together or if it was just one of those that, you know, they only get back together for special occasions. I do know that they do get back together once in a while. But I know in the comics that a big situation was that there was a big bad that pulls all the teams together, and that there is a team where there are Transformers, there are teams of girl groups, mixed groups, teams of ghost groups that are, you know, going up against bad ghosts. There are teams of, you know, it was nuts from what the research that I did on it, of all the different ghost busting groups that got together to go up against the big bad. And that was their ultimate goal. But unfortunately, the fans just weren't ready for it at the time. So, with that being said, we missed out on a big opportunity because people back in 2016 just weren't ready for it. And the director who was producing the 2016 one wasn't really listening to what the advice of people were giving him. So, yeah, with that being said, you know, it is what it is, can't be helped. So with the two new movies that came out, we're moving to a transition. We're getting new cast, fresh blood, and hopefully we can start to move forward towards this new transition where we might be able to start to get that crossover event. Ghostbusters is starting to get some new traction. We're starting to get some new games. We're starting to get some fresh faces. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to, maybe see that crossover. So, we'll see. We'll see indeed. Let's hope for something good in the future. Well, if you liked what you saw, please leave a comment below, like and subscribe, and I will see you next one. And remember, everything you do is appreciated. Be good, be safe, and know that, you are loved. Talk with you later. Bye.